Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world and to every corner that receives this 100,000 watt transmitter, the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter in the corners throughout Northeast Texas and North and Southwest Louisiana, and of course, to the world of the internet. Hello, everybody. We are going to have a great show for you today, but before we get started, we go to our favorite geniuses that don't like to be acknowledged as the geniuses that they are, El
Very
Gran
true.
Howard and El Señor Jacques.
Well, I think that you have a very loose definition of geniuses for sure. Good morning, Egberto.
Good
Something cool
morning.
was happening here yesterday.
What
We were
happened?
putting we were putting in the memory bricks out front in the
Yeah.
court. Oh, these things are just there's heart touching, really. Some of the stuff that people wrote on the memory bricks in memory of some past relatives and past friends, but also some of the stuff that they wrote on there about
Wow.
just the world in general. Very poignant stuff, and we want to thank every sustainer that we have for buying those bricks and keeping the station afloat. We have a fund drive coming up here pretty soon, starting next month, which this is the last day of the month, so next month will be tomorrow. But the fund drive doesn't start till tomorrow. You might want to stop and think about this. Your inscription on those bricks, they're just they're heart touching, and anybody who reads them just looks at it and goes, wow, that is your permanent something to say when it comes to KPFT. Yeah, shows come and go, shows and callers come and go, but these things are permanent out front. And I can't express enough that some of them, got a little choke up in my throat there when I
Tears
thought,
to the
man,
eye.
yeah, it's like, well, eye sweats. I don't really call them tears.
Okay.
They call it eye sweat.
You're a macho
But
man.
yeah, I am. I am. I have no right to be, but I am. Anyway, folks, these things are just marvelous. It is your permanent place here at 4504 Caroline. When you become a sustainer, and I don't know the
Let me,
amount that you
I
sustain.
do know it before. Let me interrupt you a second to tell folks. Kind of can start right now. I mean, it is $25 for a 4x8 and $50 for a 8 and 8 by 8. And this is, a monthly commitment, of course, but it's really worthwhile. And please just go to the website, kpft.org, and start now. Go ahead and do it. Please remember to say it's in the name of politics and right under what show. But go ahead and get that brick. It's worth it. Sorry for interrupting you, my brother.
Oh, that is okay. I was just about to turn it over to Jack for some wisdom, but folks, hey, when they were selling them, and I thought, yeah, that's a good idea, and blah blah blah. But once I saw it, I went, holy cow, this is it. You want your name out front? You can get your name out front as a sustainer to our radio station. And not only do you get the brick, okay, that's good and that's permanent, but you get good music, you get good talk shows, and it's a good investment to invest your time and invest your money to KPFT. And Jack, we want to find out if your wisdom is going to be worth it this morning.
Well, I'm going to try not to steal Egberto's show
Well,
again.
I don't know. We kind of
So,
like doing that.
yeah, it's a little fun.
Every
So,
day you make me change my subject, Jack. Why?
Well, we derailed his
okay.
show.
I read your letter this morning, so I'm on topic.
All right.
All right. Assert your worth. Every hourly worker would do well to join a union for a living wage, to make sure your rights as a worker are protected, better business, and better craftsmanship. Join a union.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Simple. Simple.
It's simple and ready to go. What can I say? We can't complain about that. Anyway, we got a great show for you today, and Jack started it, and I'm gonna finish it because he is on topic. Wow. Anyway, folks, the title of the show today is "The Union Forced UPS to Rehire Her." UAW President makes the case for unions and Biden. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and play the interview. Let me first set it up. This listener of KP of the Politics Done Right on the internet version that we do at 3 o'clock. Uh, she was telling her story about having been fired by UPS, and I've known her as a union activist, going all around the country doing her activism, etc. And when she typed that in the chat, I'm like, girl, you got to call us and tell us that story. So she immediately called into the program and told the story. And at the end, I said, oh, I got to play this on KPFT. Americans have to see we always talk about everybody should join a union. Everybody should join a union. Or if there's not a union, they need to create a union. We always talk about that, right? Well, she shows that how important that is because in her case, the union got her rehired. Check this out, and then we'll take it en el otro lado. Good afternoon, Evette Avery Herrod, our what do I call you? Our union specialist, union organizer, union activist. Pleasure having you on the phone today, my friend. All right, how you doing?
Thank you for asking me to call in. I can't complain. How about yourself?
I can't complain either, especially since I really see the revival of the union movement. Now, your union had a win. You wanted them to hold out for more. They didn't, but still, I think you will get some benefits from the UAW, the union with the UPS contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I just saw your notice there that you said they fired you one day and a few days after they had to hire you back. What happened?
Yeah, so I've been having issues with the division manager who just really does not like the union, and I guess me in particular, because I enforced the contract. So my local bought all the union stewards vests, which are just, visibility vests, safety vests to wear. And they have the union logo and our local printed on them. And he didn't want me to wear that vest on the clock. He said, I can't wear it while I'm clocked in. So because I wouldn't take it off right then, and I said that I'll take it off like I always do right before I leave the building in my truck to go deliver, he decided to terminate me. The Tuesday we came back after New Year's. So very petty, very it didn't count for anything. Never should have been done. But, the company is doing a lot of these frivolous terminations just to, intimidate and harass our members. And so I think he thought that would, help his cause, but it actually really didn't.
So let me see if I understand this right. Now that you guys have won the case, some in management now, they want to sort of extract a piece of flesh from all of you leaders who were out there organizing the troops to make sure that you won. They are trying to get a piece of flesh.
Right. Unfortunately, UPS has had a culture of harassment for a long time. And a lot of times they've gotten away with it and people didn't recognize how to fight it. And so that's been one of my things that I've been trying to educate since I've been the union steward at my current building is the education on how to deal with harassment. So I've been enforcing that. People have been, paying attention and following it. Actually, we've seen movement within our management because of those steps we've taken. So, it's not very, they don't like me that much because of that. But my people shouldn't have to come to work and suffer and feel harassed and intimidated. We just come to work, do our job, fair day's work for a fair day's pay and go home. But it's definitely been an additional challenge since the contract was put in place.
Well, look, I tell you what, like usual, we are so proud of your perseverance and not ever letting them knock you down. So let me ask you the important question. After they fired you, and the few days that you were off, was it the union that came and said, you can't do that?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, I notified my business agent immediately, and we went into the process. They offered me my job back the exact same day, actually, but they wanted to not give me back pay and have a suspension on my record, which I did not accept. So I turned down that offer. They gave another offer that I turned down, and they finally came back with back pay and no suspension on your record. So that's when I accepted and came on back to work Thursday.
Congratulations. You know what is so amazing with this story? Even though they know they were wrong, they wanted to have a little thing on your record. There's a suspension. So when there is another issue in the future, they will be able to say, hey, but look, you see, back in 2024, she had a suspension. So this is a problem employee. By standing your ground, Evette, you did exactly what the American worker needs to do with this corporate crap. And that is stand your ground and not allow them to take advantage of you. That's why we're so proud of you, sister. That's why we're so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
You've continued. You continue to do what's necessary. You're organized, the American worker, and as a member of the workers, you don't back down. You're a hero. Not hero of the day. You're a hero.
I appreciate that.
Evette, you want to address the 12K people that are supposedly being laid off?
Yeah, so with the 12,000 people, it's mostly management and vendors. But of course, like I said, they're trying to frivolous efforts to try to get rid of us at any cost. If they can get some terminations to stick, that'll help them out too as well for their bottom line. And greed, of course. But they've been targeting their management for a few months now, actually, telling some of them they have 30 days to find another job within the system or they no longer work for the company. So they've been doing that all over the country for a while. But now I guess they're finally really trying to put it out there to let people know that management and vendors are the main focus.
Well, let me see if I understand this right. Management are not part of the union. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
And management generally are high-paid workers. Is that correct as well?
Not necessarily. I mean, they consider, they're part-time supervisors and full-time supervisors. Some of our drivers and stuff like that may make even more than they do because we get raises based on our contract. Sometimes they'll get a raise, but this time they gave their part-time supervisors a raise and then they cut their hours. So in essence, they didn't get a raise. So they play with their numbers because they don't have a contract, of course, like we do. They can't do those type of things to us. So, yeah, they've been coming after them for the past, few months since the contract went into effect as well.
It's amazing. Maybe they learn a lesson from you all and unionize themselves because right now the UPS people don't understand this. There are the executives, there's management, there's shareholders, and there are workers. They are all stakeholders in different groupations. Now, the interesting thing about it is the people without representation, look at what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the call, Evette.
Anytime. Thank you.
Take care now, sis. All right. As you can see, folks, anybody who doubts every worker should be in a union. Evette's story says it all. Anyone who believes you should not be in a union, you listen to Evette's story because that is what having a union do for you. If she was alone, anybody that's alone, if a manager doesn't like you for whatever reason it could be, terminated, bye-bye. No rights for the worker, no rights for the person who's actually doing the work. And that's what unionizations do. You know what? The Chamber of Commerce is there for all businesses. You know what? The union for all these other things are there for others. I am so happy that Evette told us that story. Evette, by the way, this one plays on KPFT tomorrow because what we want to do is we want people, all Americans, to see the value in being in a union, the value in having workers who can come together and win against a corporate class that simply are parasitic in general against their employees. They want all the spoils. All the spoils. They want all of the spoils. So, folks, it's important. Unionization, I believe every single worker, if you're working for somebody, if you are working for some corporation, there should be a union to protect your rights. The economy wasn't created by Elon Musk. The economy wasn't created by somebody who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. The economy belongs to all of us. It belongs to Elon Musk as much as it belongs to you, because both of you are needed for there to be an economic system. The buyer has to be there. The customer has to be there. The manufacturer has to be there. The engineer has to be there. Everybody plays a role. And that we have a system that denigrates the roles of the worker and many others. I mean, yeah, we do it in antiseptic form now. Everybody needs to know that they will not be taken advantage of. And that's why we must have every single American citizen that isn't the plutocracy, that isn't the oligarchy, that isn't the ones controlling capital. Everybody must be in a union. Let's work towards that, folks. If you really want to get rid of income inequality, if you really want to get rid of wealth disparity, then we all collectively have to work together to beat the oppressor. And when you used to talk about oppressor, that sort of stuff, it used to be, that racial thing, brothers and sisters. You know what we found out? It was never, and some folks are going to get on the case. It was never a racial thing. It was never a gender thing. Those things are just tools to keep us at each other's throats, to keep a certain sect in charge, so that you are nothing but a widget, a peg for them. Brother Augie is on the line. Good morning, Augie. How you doing, my brother?
Good morning to all you geniuses there, and thanks for all your work. And I know a lot of stories about the union, having worked for Southwestern Bell and became AT&T. Whenever we had a union contract and getting ready to go for a strike, the best union negotiators who knew the practice book by memory and management didn't know the practice book that was negotiating. They were embarrassed when our negotiators did a better job. So when we won our contracts, because that'd be hard fought, they would hire our negotiator making management.
Yes.
So, get rid of this guy who it was, but they also did that to minority workers that they didn't like. There were great workers and all that, and they said, "Oh man, we're going to make you management," and supposedly it's higher pay. But if you look at the per hour rate, because you're management, they own you. They
Right.
own your time. They call you in, and so on an hourly rate, they were making less than we were.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a minority and didn't like you, you got a family, and you're well, like I was in San Antonio. If you got promoted in San Antonio, you thought you were going to stay in San Antonio, but if you're management, they can send you wherever they want to, and that's what they did. If they didn't like this minority person, and they would send you into some small town like in the Rio Grande Valley, where you had no relatives. And then once you're away from San Antonio and nobody knows you, they could fire you.
Right.
Because management does not have union representation. And that's what happens. So you had to be careful when the company offered you a management position if you're a minority. because that means you could be fired. And when we're getting ready to go on a strike and negotiate our next contract, it's funny. One of my supervisors said, "Hey, can you all include this and that in your negotiations? Because if we got it, then management got it too." And that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
But
that's funny.
yeah, and that's the way management worked. And I had offers for management a couple of times, but I had a family, I had children, and I want to spend time with my family. I didn't want to spend time with whatever management told me I had to spend because I would be away from my family on weekends, holidays, birthdays, and things like that. The company would own you if you're a management, and you didn't have much say. And this one, it was becoming AT&T. I knew it was going to be bad because if anybody knows the history of AT&T in the 50s and 60s, there were a lot of hard-fought strikes back then. And I remember one time when we were getting ready for a big strike, the union had somebody come in from New York and New Jersey to tell us how they struck over there on the East Coast. And this guy came in and says, "Well, when you strike, we cut the telephone cables, we and do a lot of stuff, a lot of damage, but we didn't want our union guys didn't want to hear that, and they sent them on back. No, we're just going to picket and stuff and fight for our rights without destroying anything." But and sure enough, when I left, management used to have the same health care we did. Company paid. Well, when it's becoming AT&T, management had to start paying for their own medical care. The company wasn't going to pay for them anymore, and they got rid of when it became AT&T, they got rid of all the good supervisors, the ones that really took care of their employees, and they hired promoted the worst employees to management.
You know,
And
Augie, what is interesting is that you said something that happened that you hear people who are supporting unions say all the times. Even those people who aren't unionized should support the unions because there's a tendency that when the union gets something, it sort of bleeds over to everybody else. So, I mean, that's a good point. But I have to go ahead and move on, my brother. Anything that you want to say real quick before I get to Harry?
nope. If you can, everybody in your worker, try to get a union.
Thank you,
And
brother. Peace.
good.
Have a
Bye bye.
good one. You know, folks, and it's not hard. Just go to the UAW or the Teamsters or any one of these guys. Get an advisor and start thinking about unionizing your shop. Everybody should be doing that. And remember, you get protection you should get protection, though they'll try to underhand you in many different ways to prevent you from forming a union. You do have protection, but you should be out there. This economy, like I said, belongs to us all, not to the few, but to us all. And don't ever let anybody let you feel like they're doing you a favor for hiring you. They're doing you a favor when they sell you something. We all need each other. We need everybody in the economy for it to function. And we shouldn't have people believing, "Oh, well, if I wasn't there to give you a job, look, dude, if I wasn't there to work for you, you wouldn't exist." We have to start learning who has the real power in this country, and it's the masses. If we ever decided to exert it and not allow folks to create false divisions among us. Harry, 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 come on in. Folks, don't forget, call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. All right, Harry, what's up, brother?
Hola, ¿cómo estás, Alberto? Educator, edifier, as usual. And thank you, Augie, for telling us your story of enlightening comments. And I also like that piece with what Evette was talking about, because employers can be predators and prey on you. Well, the question I have for you is, yeah, when you are in a union and say your employer terminates you and you feel you get wrongfully terminated, and you get a lawyer for wrongful termination to sue the company, the union would back you up on that, correct?
Yes, actually, you don't even need to go get your own lawyer. Once something happens to you, if you are right, that union comes in and they do what's necessary to really fight and get you your job back. That again, at that point, when you're in a union, it's like in a brotherhood or a sisterhood, right? Because your brothers and your sisters are there for you. Now, look, if you do something wrong, okay, you're out of there. All right. But the reason that we have unions are not for people who misbehave or do wrong things. The union is there to protect you against the management or the corporate executive who are or will be doing bad or wrong things. So we have to kind of get that right. The union is not there to protect thugs or criminals going to work. The union is there to protect you against the thugs and criminals that are trying to either trying to abuse you. That's their job. That's their function. You know what I mean, Harry?
Yeah, so you don't get abused. I can give you my own situation or what happened to me in my own situation when I lived in the Bay Area and I worked at the University of California. Uh, uh, yeah, California, San Francisco, UCSF, the teaching hospital. I was trying to get permanent because I was brought on as a per diem as a
Mm-hmm.
medical assistant. And I worked there for 5 years, and they kept you had we had a union, but I don't feel that. As time went on, I began to wonder if the union was really strong enough for me because the people who were permanent in our union running it, they just seemed to be. Whenever I talked to the union members that were permanent workers already there as a medical assistant, they would get they would try to just worry about themselves and their own benefits and their own pay. I mean, the one good thing that did happen come out of that is my pay raise went up. But then when I had the union, I had to have meetings with the with management in the union. I remember the woman in the union was telling management, "Why isn't this guy permanent? He's worked here for 5 years, and he's not permanent." And they were just trying. Management was trying to get rid of me, as they were a lot of other people, because they didn't want. They wanted to hire a bunch of temps, and they were also trying to take away the people's who were already permanent, take away their permanent benefits because they're trying to cut costs. And I felt wrongfully terminated, but I know my union did the best they could, and I did try to get a lawyer, but I looked around for a lawyer for wrongful termination, but they just felt that was in my situation that I wasn't being paid enough money for them to take the case.
Let me just
And
say one thing because I want a story like yours, right, is what a lot of corporate execs would used to say. Hey, and unions don't work anyway. Why spend your monthly, uh, the monthly payment is to a union? Why spend that? Just come and negotiate with us directly. Let me just say that just like there are bad companies or bad things, you can also have a bad union rep or a bad union. That's a possibility, right? So please,
I didn't think
nothing,
my union was strong enough.
right? Nothing is a panacea here. Everything that we have to constantly be vigilant and we have to do our due diligence. We don't say I join a union and then sit back. You join a union and make sure that union is working. You join a union and make sure the leaders of that union deserve to be leaders, that they're earning their pay to support you as the employee. And all of you have, politics, and that is politics as well, is a thing that always has to be fed, and that is what we have to learn as citizens, right? I remember when President Obama was elected, people felt a weight lift off of their bodies because there was no longer George W. Bush, the warmonger, George W. Bush, the person who who did all these things. And then Obama became president. I don't know, for those who don't know about that time, Obama created this thing called Obama for America. And Obama for America was a grassroots organization that went into every precinct, in fact, I was a part of Obama for America here in Kingwood. We went, every single precinct was covered. And I mean, it was the masterful organizational scheme. And think about this, a black person getting elected in 2008 was never nothing people think could have been a possibility. But that is what great
That's correct.
organizing, right? That is what great organizing did for you. Now, what did we as Americans do after Obama got elected? We sat back. We sat back. And not only that, but Obama's, many of the leaders in the Obama movement disempowered the Obama for America movement. I remember when that was just about disbanded into OFA, which was then called organize. I don't remember what it was. They used the same letters, but it stood for something else then. They disempowered Obama for America because they feared how powerful that organization was. They feared how powerful that organization was, and they figured Obama on top of that organization would pretty much run Obama, which is what it should be anyway. And then
Yeah.
we got a whole lot of half measures because that organization that had all this power was disempowered. Harry, what you need to say before I go to the next call?
Okay. Okay. A couple other things. I do remember one of my employers when he was underneath my original employer who had retired, and then when she took over her position, when I was working at that hospital, I had worked like 2:30 to 11, and then during the week, and then on the weekends I worked the 2:30 to 11, and then for over a year, and then I wanted to get morning hours, and I got a lot of pushback from her because he didn't want to change my hours. So I went to the union rep, and I did get that changed on the weekend. And then because this employer really did not like me, I don't think at all, even when she was under my original
Right.
employer hiree. What she did is she went and got my hours changed to graveyard because because he was trying to get me to quit. So then what I did is I went to my union rep and told him, they changed my hours. Is there any way you can get my hours changed back from graveyard back to swing shift? So then the union went to work for me, and then he got back to me. He said, "Well, Harry, they didn't go through the
Process.
protocol of
Yeah.
doing that sort of thing, the
Harry.
process. They just went and did it." And so I got my hours back. So there's an example where unions can do
It
good for
works.
you.
Harry,
If they
thank you
want,
for that call.
they
I got
want.
to go, but thank you very much for that
Okay,
story. As
I'll
you,
talk to you more about it. I'll talk to you more because there's more I wanted to tell you about it.
all
Have a
right.
good day.
Thank you, brother. Peace. All right, let's go to Jeremy. Come on in, Jeremy.
Hi, Alberto. Thanks for having me on. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to note that if anybody does want to try to get a union in their workplace, a really good resource is the Workplace Organizing Committee. It's a partnership between the United Electrical Workers and Democratic Socialists of America. I've done their training. If you just go to workerorganizing.org, that's one word, workerorganizing.org, you can find their website, and they have button for support where you can get help. You fill out the online form, and within 3 days, somebody will get back to you. They have organizers on staff from other unions. I've also done work through the local AFL-CIO here in Houston, down on Sutherland Street. DSA has done partnership work there with them, especially with respect to the Starbucks organizing. So the information's out there. You can always just call the AFL-CIO, and they can turn you on to resources. Don't be afraid. The people there want to help. They have people on staff who do organizing. And remember, those people are just people in your community, hardworking people who are working to help others to have the same kind of benefits we union members have. So it's workerorganizing.org. And don't be afraid. There's people out there who can help you.
Man, thank you very much for that, Jeremy. Thank you very much for that. Anything else before I do the second video? I'm going to get to that video that I think is important from Shawn Fain. Thank you very much for your call, Jeremy.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, buddy. I mean, see, that is what we're talking about, getting all that information. Jeremy, thank you for that. If you drop me a line, kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com, I'd like to get the appropriate links, etc., so that I can put it out there. But here is Shawn Fain on unions. This is a very important thing here. Check this out, then we'll take it on the other side. The president of the UAW, Shawn Fain, he appeared on Morning Joe this morning, and I could not have been happier with what he had to say. And of course, we should know by now, Donald Trump is about to explode, because here is the guy that is courting a lot of the new Donald Trump voters, the white working class that Donald Trump thinks should be automatically his. Shawn Fain, he is speaking the language that those of us who are a part of our PDR posse understands well. He's speaking the language of not only the working class, but the people who actually do all of the work, from the person sweeping the grounds to the person washing the dishes to the lawyers, the doctors. How do they get a fair break? And he understands the billionaire concept quite well. He understands that the Trumps of the world, that all of these billionaires, they are doing it all on the backs of the American people, not anything that they've earned. So it is time, yes, for the UAW to engage fully to make sure that the worker is taken advantage of. He even called out Ronald Reagan for the last 43 years, since Ronald Reagan, that the American worker, 90%, the bottom 90%, in other words, the vast majority of Americans, their salaries have only increased 30% over that 43 years, 32% or so. When the upper 1%, the people who make, the people who really command what's to be done and not necessarily do the work, their increase over 300% over that same 43-year period. I mean, it has to stop. And it's great that he comes out and he provides this narrative that he's given. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. I couldn't have said it any better.
Joe Biden has a history of serving others and serving the working class and fighting for the working class, standing with the working class. Donald Trump has a history of serving himself and standing for the billionaire class, and that's contrary to everything that working class people stand for.
Trump blasted UAW President Shawn Fain on his social media platform, accusing him of, quote, selling the automobile industry right into the big, powerful hands of China, adding, quote, get rid of this dope and vote for Donald J. Trump. I will bring the automobile industry back to our country.
Yeah. Let's bring in Shawn Fain right now. Talk about what's at stake in this election for workers, and talk about what's at stake for those people in your own union that are like, I know he supports billionaires and multinational corporations, but I just kind of like him. I'm going to vote for it.
And honestly, what this all comes down to, when we look at this election is, are we going to continue to go forward? Or are we going to go backwards? Trump's billionaire economy, Trump's tax breaks that he put in place when he was president that benefited, 85% of the benefit went to the top 1%, and never expired. Meanwhile, the minuscule benefits that went to working class people had an expiration date on it. That doesn't work for us. We look at what he's done, the body of work, throughout his presidency, and then Joe Biden through his presidency. It's a real clear picture. Donald Trump did not stand with working class people when he had the opportunity as president. We had the GM 40-day strike in 2000. 2019, Donald Trump was completely silent, never said a word. We had Lordstown Assembly Plant that was slated to close in 2019. Donald Trump told people, don't sell your houses, and he did nothing but blame the local union president, which was a complete joke. Joe Biden, in 2023, we had the same situation. A plant in Belvedere, Illinois was slated to close. Joe Biden engaged us. We got involved. We worked together, and we found a solution, not just to save a closing plant, but to add a second plant there and also save a dying community. Joe Biden joined us on the picket line and stood with us. Trump put in anti-union NLRB people, on the board and killed organizing. All the positive momentum we have going right now in this country for working class people. 75% of Americans supported us in our contract fight because the principles we're fighting for, wages, better benefits, health care, retirement security, getting our time, getting our lives back. That's what matters to working class people. Donald Trump doesn't want any of that for working class people. And he used the term weapon of mass destruction. The only weapon of mass destruction we've faced in the last 40 years has been corporate greed, because that's what drives this, and that's Trump's world.
Talk about what happened during the strike for those watching that didn't follow it so closely. We had Joe Biden going on the picket line, first president in U.S. history to do that. What did Donald Trump do?
Yeah, so that, again, it's a perfect contrast between the two candidates. You have, for the first time in history, a sitting U.S. president joining working class people, joining the workers on the picket line, standing up with them. And you had Donald Trump, who claims he supports the workers, who calls one of his business owner buddies and in a non-union factory, and he goes to this non-union factory and has a rally claiming that he's there for the union workers and the striking workers. It's what Trump does best. It's a rope-a-dope. Wants you to look over here, while over here he's taking everything away. It's the divide and conquer tactic, and that's what's worked for the billionaire class and the corporate class forever. They divide us over race, they divide us over gender. Even I heard you guys talking earlier about border security. Even border security. When I look at that issue, I see my grandparents. The only difference when I see destitute people that are desperate trying to cross a border to find a better life in America, that we used to be the beacon. We welcome your sick, bring us your sick, your needy, bring us your poor. I see my grandparents who were destitute coming out of a depression. They moved north from the South. They found jobs in the UAW, and it changed their lives. They lived the American dream. That's what this is all about. We can't continue to let the billionaire class and the corporate class divide us over issues because that's how they win. And the issues that matter to us, that matter to all working class people, is having security in their lives, having dignity, when they're too old to work and too young to die.
Let's talk about the workers in your union a little bit. The push toward electric vehicles seems to be a little bit of a pullback on that at the moment. Some of the deficiencies in those, a future that's gone electric. The Biden administration has gone big, saying that's going to create more jobs. This is where we're headed. How do you see the present of the American auto worker and then the future, a few years down the road?
We embrace technology changes, that we always have. And the UAW has always stood, for a clean environment. Walter Reuther famously said back in his time, that what good's another $1 an hour in wages or another week's vacation if the place you go to, take your vacation, you can't swim in a lake or you can't breathe the air. It goes back to that. We don't know where this is going to go. We've put provisions in place. We've worked again with the Biden administration, Secretary of Labor Julie Su, to put provisions in place that no matter where this industry goes, whether it's electric, whether internal combustible engine continues, whatever that is, that working class people will continue to benefit and will have better standards. We'll have our standards, not a race to the bottom, which is what Donald Trump drives. And, we can't be afraid of change. And so, we've covered both ends of the spectrum, and whatever technology comes down the road, we'll embrace that also. Wherever this market goes, our workers are going to be okay.
Shawn, as we approach this election and you've made this endorsement, what will labor do that now UAW and others have endorsed Biden to energize the laborers, the union members, to come out and vote? Because all of this is moot if your endorsement does not carry the weight of bringing out members and likewise other union leaders.
Yeah, this endorsement and this election, it's about a hell of a lot more than just organized labor. But organized labor has to lead this fight, and we're going to lead it. This is about humanity. Where do we want to go as a nation? Do we want to continue on this 40 or 50 year downward spiral we've been on, where we have this massive income inequality, this wealth gap? I read the other day an Economic Policy Institute study where in 43-year period from 79, right when Reagan took over over in 80 till 2022. The top 0.1% wages increased 344%. The bottom 90% of us in America increased 32%, which if you factor 3% average inflation a year, we weren't even anywhere near keeping up with inflation, while the billionaire class and the wealthy took all the profits. That's what this is all about. We have to focus on humanity. There's a reason why Trump and them want to cut Social Security benefits, and they don't want Medicare for all, and they don't want health care for all, because they want to concentrate all the wealth in their hands. They want to take everything and leave everybody else fending for themselves. That's not something that works for us, but labor's going to lead this fight, and we're in it. And our members have to look at the reality. We have to look at facts. That's why our contract campaign was so successful, because we put the facts out there of the gross inequality between the companies and the workers. And it's the same situation in our politics. There's gross inequality with the few at the top and everyone else at the bottom. We have to look at facts, not fiction, not alternative facts or lies, as Trump likes to talk about. Real facts. Right. And the facts are very clear.
Shawn Fain nailed it. And he realizes it's not just about the UAW. It's not just about the unionized worker. It's about the entire fabric of our society. It's about Medicare or health care for all. It's about having a good social safety net. It is about having a clean environment, and not even the scare tactics that many would try with the EV, electronic vehicles, and internal combustion engine. Hey, auto worker, be scared. Be very scared. Don't support that green stuff, because that's your job. Well, Shawn Fain puts that to rest. Shawn Fain says, we accept technology. We also want a clean environment. As one of our leaders have said, why make an extra dollar if you can't later on go out and swim in the lake or breathe the air? Wow. Shawn Fain nailed every point. This is one of those interviews that we should make sure every single worker, not just a UAW worker, not just a unionized worker, every worker should listen to what this president of the UAW had to say. Absolutely. So we should all listen to what he had to say, because it was the truth. Neil Maxon, welcome to Politics Done Right in the chat from Florida, who grew up in Florida. And of course, we have Eric Hayes complaining that the president of the union makes $200K, or so what? The president of the Red Cross, money that we all give to, was making $500,000. I think $200K or so for this kind of a job, where this guy is out flying all over the place promoting. In fact, I'm going to try to get an interview with him. I need to find a way to reach him to get an interview, because some other questions I want to ask him. Anyway, the mayor of Politics Done Right is on the line. So let's bring in el alcalde de Politics Done Right. How you doing, brother Johnny?
I'm inspired every time I look at and listen to Shawn Fain. He brings to mind the kind of advocacy we used to see in people like Ralph Nader.
Yes.
When I was a teenager, Ralph Nader was the zeitgeist as far as I was concerned. And he's written over 40 books. I thought he authored maybe 5 or 10 books to do with labor and consumer advocacy. But he's written over 40 books to date, Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader is a powerhouse. And there's 2 books I would probably recommend for folks who are interested in reactivating their democracy, their spirit of democracy in the workplace. And that would be The Rebellious CEO, which is, I think, one of his most recent books. And back when I was a teenager, his book on, I think it was called Taming the Giant Corporation. Those 2 are, I think, good reading, recommended reading, along with anything by Tom Hartman, as a matter of fact. Tom Hartman is also a very...
Tom is a prolific writer. I know him personally. He is great. Go ahead.
He's constantly writing. I don't know where he gets the energy. But the bottom line for this call to you today is to remind us.
Okay, hold on a second. I want you to remind us, but Johnny, hold on. You mentioned him first, so I want to answer your question because I asked him that in I think it was in Philadelphia. I'm like, man, every time you turn around, new book, whatever. He said, Egberto, let me tell you what I do. Every day I get 10 pages done. That's what he said. Every day I get 10 pages done. No matter what's happening in his life, he gets 10 pages done. Anyway, go ahead, Johnny. What you really call for?
I write every day, but it's a more personal journal about personal crap. Nothing meant to be published. Trust me. Anyway, so.
Hey, I bet that's wait. I bet that's not true. If it's coming from you, I bet there's a hell lot of intellect in there. Anyway, continue, brother.
There's a lot of mundane stuff in my writings when I'm gone, and people that read this stuff and say, "What the hell is wrong with this guy?" Anyway, so the reason that I'm calling you is to remind folks, especially younger folks who might access this conversation at some point in the near future, is democracy is something we hear this all the time. It's something that requires attention.
Yes.
And if you think that you could sit on your laurels after you vote for Barack Obama, or you do your voting for your favorite politician, or you do your street walking for a Bernie, or let's say the place where you work out is having a vote to unionize. Do you think that the battle is done once you become unionized? Your work is just started, buddy boy.
Right.
You said it already. The idea of corruption of unions is that threat always there, and it's coming from the employer. They've got the money to bribe union leaders to make them betray their membership. There's so many things to negotiate. You think it's enough just to be good at your job? No. You could ask black people. Ask black people what it's like to be a worker in America. You not only have to be good at your job, you have to be good at politics. Politics is inescapable. It's everywhere. This idea about, we don't talk about religion and politics at the water cooler. That's a bunch of crap. That's what the oligarchs want you to think. That's the perfect place to talk about religion and politics and show your coworkers your pay stub. That's where you got to start at. Everybody's got to know what everybody's doing. Strength in numbers. They want to divide you. How can you stand to affront to your employer who's abusing you if you don't know what your fellow employees are dealing with? You all have to be on the same page.
You know, man, Johnny, that's why we call you the mayor of Politics Done Right. Always have something constructive to say. And you're absolutely right. Democracy, you got to continue working for.
One last thing.
Yes.
One last thing, Roberto. Maybe it's a lot better if we just go to laterally organize the businesses. The hell with dealing with Mr. Smith at the top. Just go into business with your high school buddies. You all pull your money, or go to Italy and become Italian, and then open up a business there. If you're going to do all that work,
Look, I love that. Look up. I forgot the name now, but collective businesses. I mean, the problem once you do the collective businesses, you have to be careful they don't devolve into the crazy corporations. But it works. You're absolutely right, Johnny. Thank you very much for your call as usual.
Take care. Reminding us. That's right.
Thank you, brother.
Everywhere, self-awareness. So education is the key. Ralph Nader is a great place to start.
Peace. Bye-bye. Peace. Bye-bye. Thank you, brother. Take care. Let's get Brian into the fold. How are you doing, Brian?
Fine. How are you?
I am fine.
Something else. I was going to talk about something else, but Palmer just talked about Tom Hartman, who is a hypocritical, chronic liar.
Okay.
He is nothing but a hypocrite. He was against the Vietnam War. He dropped out of college to protest it. He was for Big Pharma. He hated Big Pharma. Now he loves it because of the COVID vaccine. He is against the military-industrial complex. Now who is he for? Ukraine, and giving them billions of dollars. He have people on there all the time talking about we need more money for Ukraine. He talks about the tax cuts for the wealthy. What administration took the tax cut from 94% of the top 10% to 70%? The Kennedy administration. What spurred the growth from the 60s? that tax cut. Tom Hartman never talks about the tax cut, or that the unemployment rate when he took office was 23%. In 1937, it was 19%. Tom Hartman is a hypocritical liar. He
Okay,
will block you if you bring up points like this.
Brian.
He will block you from Facebook,
Brian.
YouTube, everything. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Brian. Let me just say, because we don't have the time to discuss each of the items that you're saying. First of all, I must categorically say that Tom Hartman is a good friend. We speak all the time, number one. Number two, he's not a liar. And everything that you just remember what I talk about a lot, Brian, and that is if you try to make things black or white that aren't black or white, and I'm talking about staunch differences, then you may come out with some conclusions that you just came out with. However, if you look at the gradations of gray that reality preaches, you'll understand this guy's positions. You should consider reading his books because other than on a program, you can see how these decisions are made. Support. Look, I don't like the idea of Ukraine and the defense industrial complex in Ukraine, but the truth of the matter is there's some issues there. So I mean, we can actually discuss this point for point, Brian, but we can't do it right now. So quickly tell me what was the other topic you wanted to cover.
Okay, no, back to Tom Hartman. One and a half weeks ago, he said that the Texas National Guard laughed at the woman and her two children that drowned on the Texas border. He actually said that on his program. The Texas National Guard laughed.
I'll read the paragraph from the Tribune tomorrow if I remember. But anyway, I got to go to the studio. But thank you, Brian. And you notice you always get a chance to say have your say. Thank you. Peace. Have a good one. All right, let's go back to the geniuses. Hey, studio, talk to me. Howard.
Well, thank you, Egberto. And I just wanted to go ahead and add, for those folks who are thinking about, being a sustainer to this radio station, please take it up. Do the bricks. You'll be pleasantly surprised and moved. And that's about all I've got. Jack, you got some wisdom for us?
I don't know about wisdom. Just join the union if you can. Get yourself protected and get you some benefits. It's a trade-off, but, it works real well.
Well, one of the problems with Texas is not really a strong union state. It's a right to get fired state.
Right.
That's what it is. They say it's a right to work state. No, it isn't. It's a right to get fired state. They can fire you for no reason at all.
Absolutely. Also, welcome to our chat. Nad Norb says, as well as Patrick Baron. We had a lot of chat folks as well saying their piece. Anyway, folks, I want to thank Howard and Jack for the great work in the studio. I want to thank all our listeners for your ears. I want to thank the callers for all the commentary that you do. I love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You know what I need to say that I haven't been saying? Stay tuned for Democracy Now! My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by-in for the people. While we wait for the U.S. Supreme Court to rule on former President Trump's appeal to the Colorado 14th Amendment ballot eligibility decision, we have updates on other recent state cases. In Massachusetts on January 29th, the state's Ballot Law Commission ruled against two challenges, saying that the body did not have jurisdiction. In Maine, a court kept Trump on the ballot after the Secretary of State's decision to remove him, pending the U.S. Supreme Court's appeal in February. An Illinois Board of Elections hearing officer said Tuesday that the Board of Elections can